New, Furnace Evolution, and Rework, which could affect so many decks. Let's take a look and rank which evolutions are the worst and the best. Starting with the worst evolution in the game, Goblin Drill. For most of 2025, the Evil Drill has been the worst Evo by a mile. No one uses it, and it's the only Evo where the normal variant is better in almost all situations. It gets almost no value anymore, and it's the only evolution in top 200 ladder that isn't being used at all, for the 4th time in a row. Evil Wizard's only usage is in mid ladder, and even that is sparse. Evil Wizard Shield does almost nothing unless you have Minion Horde for whatever reason. Minions will be up a little bit after a buff, but this won't change anything. And the Evil Wizard was just given out for free, so this will buff usage a little bit, but not for long. And closing off F tier at number 33 is the Evil Barbarians. The ability that the Barbarians have is hardly enough to justify their usage. Also, you have to play regular barbs to get the Evo, and they are horrible. The only reason their usage isn't lower is they were given out for free 3 different times. Lava Hound and Elixir Pump are their only rare carriers. Starting off C tier with Evil Bomber. Bomber fell off very hard. Now it is 2 cycles and does not hit anything 2 times. Also, keep in mind, arrows kills the Evil Bomber, and arrows are high in usage right now. Drill and Giant Prince may carry it, but it's rare to see with the Evil Bomber. Next up, we have the Evolved Skeletons. Now, if I can find them, they're down here. It is more difficult to extract value from the Evil Skeletons now that there's only 3 instead of 4. Also, any spell takes care of them, and spells are most used now with Log Bait prevalent. Bait is down, but spells will always be here, so I'm not surprised that Evil Skeletons are down this low, especially because all your opponent needs is a quick reaction time to kill the Evil Skeletons that are surrounding his P.E.K.K.A. Evil Hunter is number 30. The rework that killed Evil Hunter, it used to be an S tier, now it sits down here. It no longer permastuns, and this was bad news for Royal Giant, because Royal Giant was the only carrier for Evil Hunter. It still has its ability where it can trap down air cards, that stupid interaction where it traps a Lava Hound. They might even buff it again. It's that bad. And closing off C tier with the Evil Tesla. The tiny buff that Evil Tesla had a few seasons back hardly changed its standing. Tesla can absolutely be annoying in many situations, but since the Death Stun was removed almost a year ago, it's no longer the bailout card that everyone used. Now it's used in some Drill, some Expo, and some Hog Rider decks, but not what it used to be. You might want to invest in it if you don't have any other evolutions like Evil Cannon. Starting off B tier with number 29, I'm going to throw the Evil Goblin Barrel in there. Goblin Barrel is still deadly if you let a card tank for the fake barrel. It's condescending when it does happen, but the damage nerf in July brought down its usefulness a little bit. Its only usage is in log bait, and that's how it really should be. The Evil Barrel doesn't really serve any other purpose outside of it. I wouldn't be surprised if less and less people use the Evil Barrel and they switch to other evils like Dark Goblin, or maybe go for a tank like Evil Knight. Number 27 is Goblin Cage. Goblin Cage can be really strong against beatdown decks, but keep in mind, beatdown is not in the greatest position at the moment. Also, any medium spell like Fireball or arrows even will take care of the cage, so that's also a big disadvantage with it. You will see it in some recruits decks and a lot of Lava Hound decks. Fireball bait can also be really annoying with the Evil Cage, and it's an annoying evil with all the annoying decks that everyone likes. Number 26 is going to be Battle Ram. Battle Ram is present in bridge spam only, and that's a good thing. However, a year ago, it was the best evolution in the game, and we're glad that it's not the case anymore. Without a building in hand though, it's incredibly deadly, and some decks struggle against it, specifically decks without a building. It can feel impossible to go against the Evil Battle Ram because it pushes back so many times. But with the building, it can almost feel like a regular Battle Ram. The Evil Barbs don't help much either. Next up is Evil Mega Knight. Evil Mega Knight is really just a mid-ladder evolution. I would put it lower if mid-ladder didn't exist because Evil Mega Knight's usage is pretty centralized against mid-ladder. You might want to put it higher just because you might be stuck in mid-ladder and the Evil Mega Knight can be really annoying. But also keep in mind, Mega Knight in general is incredibly easy to counter, and so that's why it's so down. In some cases too, the Evil is actually worse than the regular card on offense because it pushes stuff away from it. Evil Dark Goblin got reworked, but it's largely a nerf. The hit speed of the normal Dark Goblin got nerfed, but the damage is up. Both changes affect the evolution, but another thing is that the Evil's poison is down to 1 second instead of 4 seconds. This is pretty big, especially against tower damage and defending big pushes. That was most of the hype around the Dark Goblin when it first came out. Its ability to stop huge pushes with the poison effect. Now most of that is gone, and because of that, it hurts the Evil Dark Goblin a lot. Electro Dragon Evo is not as good as many people think. It's been relegated to Golem and E-Golem, and that's really all it's got going for it. Of course, it stuns and chains infinitely, and hard counters Infernal decks, but even then, the usage is not the best. NATO does help it though, and we're all thankful it's not day 1 Electro Dragon. And keep in mind, all you need is a medium to large spell, Fireball, Rocket, Lightning, all of that takes care of the evil Electro Dragon, but because it's paired with Battle Healer so many times, it can be really annoying to kill, but other than that, not that useful. Evil Lumberjack got buffed. It's a weird change. Rage got reworked. Rage's damage got buffed, but the duration got nerfed. But here's the thing. The evil Lumberjack's Rage got the damage buff, but not the duration nerf. This ultimately means the evil Lumberjack got a slight buff, but again, nowhere near as broken before emergency nerfs on release. It occasionally brings value in some matches. If you don't defend properly, it will get some damage on your tower, and always paired with Lumberloon, so that can be really annoying. That's the case with a lot of these evolutions, is that they're just annoying, but they're not actually that good. Evil Royal Giant is nowhere near as prevalent anymore, with Evil Hunter and Monk down the drain. Royal Giant is almost always on the up and down across seasons, but the Evo is definitely worth it if you're looking into playing Royal Giant, and pretty much all the RG players use the evolution. Besides the release, it has been a pretty stable evolution, so I would put it in number 21, B tier. Archers got reworked. The regular Archer's damage is up 5%, which does affect the Evo. That's good. Now the Evo's power shot damage is down 22%, which is pretty big. However, the minimum range you need to get a power shot is lower, so now it's easier to get a power shot even though it's weaker. Pretty complicated rework, but I think it will work well because both damage levels are affected, and it may give a small bump to evil archers in only a few situations. However, X-Bow and some recruit stacks will still be their only usage. However, at number 19, I'm going to throw Evil Ice Spirit in there. The Evil Ice Spirit is pretty stable now. The nerfs have brought it down quite a bit. Before, it could shut down huge pushes with 3 stuns. Now it's 2 stronger stuns, and it still does its job decently well. It had a long history of being a bad Evo to being the best in the game, and now it's balanced enough. Still able to deal with beatdown efficiently enough. But I think it's probably in its most balanced position yet. Evo Mortar, no one will ever convince me that the Evo Mortar isn't annoying. The Goblin just adds more stress to a push, especially since it also distracts your defense. The only thing holding it back, however, is you still have to play regular Mortar to get to the Evo, which is not that great. Evo Mortar is still viable in Mortar decks though. And guys, if you're enjoying this video so far, hit that subscribe button, it'd be much appreciated. We're trying to hit 10k subscribers soon. Evil Zap is still used in Lava Hound and other beatdown decks. I wouldn't put Evil Zap too high because I think a lot of people overrate the Evil Zap. It's not that great. Some decks will struggle against it if it happens to be in cycle in the right situation, and the 2 Zaps is nice, but keep in mind it used to be 3 Zaps and they were a lot stronger, and of course the Zap isn't what it used to be. That's the case with a lot of these evolutions. They were the strongest in the game at one point. Now, not so much. If you remember when it first came out, it was like a 2 elixir fireball. And closing off B tier at number 16, I'm going to put the Evil Firecracker, which got nerfed. The regular version got her sight range and recoil takedown, which in turn nerfs the evolution. Now, most of the Evil Firecracker usage is in Hoggy Q. That will be taken down, and Firecracker is just an annoying evolution. I'm not surprised that Supercell did nerf it. She will still be viable after the nerfs, and most likely people will still use her, especially since Arrows is so meta, and we'll be keeping her in check. Starting off A tier, number 15 is Evo Snowball, which got reworked. The Evo Snowball speed is down, which doesn't really change it that much, and the Evo Snowball is still good in Goblin Drill especially. But also some X-Bow and Mortar decks will utilize the Evo Snowball because it's such a surprise factor. It literally wipes your opponent's defense off the map, so an X-Bow could connect, a Drill could connect, a Mortar can connect. It's a bunch of different situations where you can use the Evil Snowball. I still believe it is underrated, and with Goblin Drill, it gets almost guaranteed damage. Number 14, I'm going to put Evil Musketeer. The Musketeer has had an interesting season because the Ice Golem got buffed. The Evil Musketeer's usage is almost solely around Ice Golem decks with Hog Rider or Loon spam, and the Sniper ability is probably one of the most skilled mechanics in the game. It can go really well or horribly, but outside of Hog and Loon, the Musketeer is almost non-existent because the Evo is pretty localized. Number 13, I'm going to put Evo Knight. For 2 years, Evo Knight has been a great option for tanks. X-Bow and other decks consistently use the evolution, and the Knight has also survived so many nerfs in its history. It used to be one of the strongest evolutions in the game, and it's probably one of the most balanced evolutions right now, and is a solid option if you need to fill in an Evo slot and need a huge tank. It of course struggles against Swarm decks because Swarm is its real counter. At number 12, I'm going to throw Evo Witch in there. This is because the Evo Witch got reworked. Now her healing is up, but she only heals from her own skeletons. Graveyard, Skeleton Barrel, Barrel and other skeleton cards will no longer heal her. This hurts the Evo a lot because she dominated when there were a bunch of skeletons on the ground. Now, Evil Witch will be seen less and less, with Graveyard and Skeleton Barrel usage rates down as well. However, she might be balanced yet even after these changes, because the Evil Witch does spawn skeletons enough to heal her. At number 11, I'm going to throw in Royal Recruits. Recruits have had an interesting season as well, because of the Evil Skeleton Barrel. The bait aspect of Royal Recruits has gone up, of course. The Recruits bait deck can be very annoying, and this is pretty bad considering Recruits were very good even before the Evil Skeleton Barrel. But also keep in mind, the Recruits are pretty matchup dependent. A lot of decks that the Recruits go against, they will absolutely struggle, like Bomb Tower or Swarm. That can be very difficult to beat. Starting off our top 10, Goblin Giant got nerfed a tiny amount. Spear Goblin's first hit time is up, which does affect the Goblin Giant, but it's very little. As long as the duo with P.E.K.K.A. and Goblin Giant and Goblin Giant continues, there won't be many changes to it anytime soon. Sparky is also a really good pair with the Goblin Giant. The famous beatdown deck with Goblin Curse will likely continue to be meta, and no one really likes it. Number 9 is Evo P.E.K.K.A. Now, P.E.K.K.A. has had an interesting history. It started off as the best evolution, then it became the worst, and now it's a good evolution. She's viable in her own bridge spam decks, but also still great with Goblin Giant. Those two are keeping her alive because that's all there is. But honestly, that's all that's needed. The Evo P.E.K.K.A. heals more if she kills a higher health unit, which makes her even more balanced than before, instead of just healing the same across all units, which opens up her natural weak point, which is against Swarm. That was the big problem when she first came out. At number 8 is Evil Valkyrie. There are a lot of pushes that the Evil Valk just shuts down, but also Evil Valk takes a bit more skill than the other Evos, because sometimes playing an Evil Valk can harm you and bring a push closer to the tower. And the tornado effect covers another weak point of Valk, which is air counters. I doubt Supercell will nerf her, so consider maxing her out. Number 7 is going to be Evil Wall Breakers. A lot of people underestimate the Wall Breakers' defensive potential. They can be used well on both defense and offense, and that's what makes them so versatile. And versatile cards are generally good. Miner is getting nerfed, so that may bring down the Wall Breakers a little bit, but they're still strong either way. You should definitely consider using Wall Breakers evolution, because they can be very powerful, and they do a lot of damage and cannot be ignored. Most of the time, they will force out a building so you can use other cards to attack the tower. At number 6, I'm going to throw in Evo Bats. Evo Bats are great with Miner and Mega Knight decks. If you don't have arrows, they are scary to go against, especially when they play them at the bridge with Miner. They will take your tower if you do that. They're hardly used in mid-ladder though, and that's why some people think they're not strong. Even then, probably the most annoying Evo in the game, and they're almost always a negative elixir trade. Even arrows, its biggest counter, will end up being a -1 trade. At number 5 is going to be Evo Cannon. Cannon is still one of the best defensive evolutions and buildings in the game. The Meteor Radius nerf a few months ago was necessary, as the Evo was the best in the game at the time. It's strong and kind of balanced, because the Evo Cannon can still snipe a few cards, and that's kind of skilled, but it's also a pretty big bailout sometimes. So that's why it's top 5 evolution. At number 4 is going to be Evo Furnace, the newest evolution in the game, and it comes with a rework of its own. Both variants now walk, and it's no longer a building. It now spawns Fire Spirits much faster when it's attacking, and it can take a tower on its own. Fire Spirits also do fireball damage to the tower, so I can see it being used a lot. This was filmed before the season started, so it's hard to tell, but I think it's going to be a great evolution, so I'm going to throw it in higher A tier in top 5, because it looks very strong. And starting off our S tier, in number 3 is Evo Skeleton Barrel, which got nerfed. Now the death damage is down 5%, which is weird because this does almost nothing. It will still be very detrimental if you don't have the proper counter like a building. Buildings are really the only way to stop the Evo Skeleton Barrel from getting damage on your tower, because when it does get damage on your tower, it is about 800 damage. But also keep in mind, now that the Evil Witch can't heal from the outside skeletons, the Evo Skeleton Barrel will also go down a little bit more, but I still believe it's going to be an S tier evolution. They're definitely going to have to nerf it again next season, because this pair with Evo Recruits will still be very bad. Number 2 is going to be Evo Executioner. It's one of the best and most underrated evolutions in the game right now. He can push back and defend almost anything in the game. He also has a damage buff if you get too close. Lava Hound struggles, Drill struggles, Bait struggles, but here's the thing, the only reason I think you don't see him too often is he was released alongside the pass changes and the boycott against Supercell. Did you know the Evo Executioner is the Evo with the lowest number of owners? And that's probably why Supercell didn't nerf it, because hardly anyone is using it. It is a hidden gem, and when you go against it, you can definitely feel it, but you don't have it because you don't have the evolution. And finally, number 1 is Evo Inferno Dragon. I am incredibly shocked that the Evo Inferno Dragon hasn't gotten nerfed yet. It's probably the sole reason why Beatdown is suffering buffery outside of P.E.K.K.A. Goblin Giant. A Golem buff won't help if this card is still on the throne. The ramp up damage is so detrimental to a lot of beatdown decks unless you have some sort of stun decks. That is the sole reason why the Electro Spirit and Zap are getting used a lot right now, because it simply counters the evil Inferno Dragon. It is so important to that card. And guys, make sure you subscribe. I did a different format of tier list. Let me know what you think and make your own tier list in the comment section. I'd like to see what you all think, and let's just see how this plays out.